Hey, everybody, welcome to our fifth video in this course titled Communication Skills Training. Thank you so much. If you've watched all five, I'm going to give you a round of applause. You are incredible. I really hope that this has been helpful. There's so many other things about communication that I'd want to say, but I want to finish off this series with this really important topic titled cultural competence. I really believe in communication. This isn't talked about enough, but you really have to be competent at talking to people from different cultures. All right. So let's take a look at it. And once again, if this is the first video you're watching in this series, thank you for watching it. Take a look at some of the other videos that we have that will give you a full picture of communication. Thank you to all those who are doing the note taker. Finish strong. And we're going to give you a free certificate of completion when you submit your notes to us. All right, let's define culture. Let's define cultural competence. Let's then learn why cultural competency is so important. Then let's look at some actual examples of it, two common examples, and then I'm going to leave you off with some reflection questions to consider. All right, so here we go. Let's look at culture. According to study.com, we look at how culture is a system of what? Learned and shared beliefs. We all come from a culture. We all have culture in our lives, language, norms, values, and symbols that groups use to identify themselves and provide a framework to which they want to live and learn. So, what is cultural competence? Cultural competence is the ability of an individual to understand and respect values, attitudes, beliefs, and more that differ across cultures. Cultural competence also considers and helps you respond appropriately to those differences in planning, etc., especially when it comes to helping people, health education promotion programs, and interventions. This is huge. And this is according to the National Center for Cultural Competence. So why should we learn about cultural competency? Well, as you can probably already figure out, our world is getting more and more diverse, not just diverse in terms of how we look, but diverse in culture. So as you can see, here's the diversity index in 2020. As you can see all across the US, the diversity is pretty diverse and it's getting more diverse. According, once again, to the National Center of Cultural Competence, why should we learn about cultural competency? Well, it's important because it allows us to effectively understand, communicate with, and interact with people from diverse cultural backgrounds, leading to improved relationships, better service delivery, and reduced disparities. This is helping our world when we understand more about cultural competency. Now, I know not everyone wants to learn about it, but for those of you who do, I feel like you're going to benefit. You're going to become a leader. People are going to view you as a person that really is good at communicating with all types of people. Examples of cultural competency. Okay, so slow down here. Look at this list real quick. Smiling, eye contact, hugging, distance, accepting gifts, doing things with your left hand, specific attire, tipping, bargaining, eating or drinking foods with noise, etc. This is a short list, but if I were to ask you, are the things on this list good or bad? Now, I don't know what culture you come from, whoever's watching this, but from the culture I come from, yeah, these are pretty good things. Eye contact with people's good. I taught it in the lesson before. Smiling with someone, showing affection, hugging, etc. But what I'm trying to point out is I created this list based on things that certain cultures view down on, view negatively. You can look this up, but in certain cultures, it's actually disrespectful to smile at them. It's actually disrespectful to look at someone in the eyes for too long. It's actually disrespectful to touch or to hug someone to keep that distance. It's actually disrespectful to accept gifts or doing things with your left hand. I thought that was interesting, but I want to respect that culture who believes that or who is used to that. Specific attire, even tipping in certain countries, they don't accept tips. Like if you're not from that culture or that country, people may see you as you trying to give them something that they don't want. That's really interesting. Or eating foods with noise, etc. So once again, as you can see all these different things, it's different. And I really want you to understand that. So what's the takeaway? Okay, so my thing, and I want to teach you this. So I'm going to get this down if you're doing the note taker. Before you go into or before you work in an environment or before you live in an environment, it's important that you talk to certain people about, hey, tell me about your culture. Tell me about some things I should do or shouldn't do and learn to respect it. You know, it's interesting. As a visitor, as a traveler, you don't have to agree with it, but you have to respect it. And that, I think, is a great way to live. Because if someone were to come into your culture and things that you think is normal, and they do something completely opposite, you would be like, whoa, this person's so disrespectful. This person has no idea what they're doing. This person doesn't even know that they're making me feel this way. But once again, put yourself in their shoes. Takeaway number two, learn how to be responsive and adapt to cultural environments. So we all do that. And I'll show you some examples of that in a moment. So some common examples. Okay. So here's example number one. You are from a culture that views smiling, being outspoken, and having eye contact as being rude or unprofessional. Okay. Pretend you're from a culture that views all those things as unprofessional or rude. But in Western culture, and I'm from the States, smiling, being outspoken, which means to speak your views, and having eye contact with someone actually shows that you're confident, competent, and a great communicator. So a lot of times, if you come from a culture that views all those things, you may grow up in a certain way, but you have to understand you kind of have to adapt to whatever culture you're in. And you kind of have to see what everyone else is doing. Okay. I'm not saying change who you are. I'm saying you have to adapt temporarily if you want to be a part of that company, if you want to be a part of that scene. Okay. And be careful here. And sometimes you can change what's really good, which are your values. But what I'm trying to say here is if you don't know how to adapt, you may be overlooked for a job opening, a promotion, or a leadership position. So keep that in mind. So let's do a debrief. Does this mean, once again, that I have to change who I am and hide my culture? No, no one's asking you to do that. Your culture is beautiful, just the way it is. And you have to understand that that's the way you're grown up, raised. That's the way your family is. So no. You have to respect them enough to understand that that's their culture. But the analogy is this. So most likely you wear shorts and sandals or beach clothes to the beach on the weekend. But that doesn't mean that you're going to wear those clothes throughout the rest of the week. So during the week, you wear your professional attire to work. So that's really what I'm talking about, being adaptive and being able to understand what environment you're going into. Keep that in mind. Here's another example. And this happens actually a lot. You meet your significant other's parents for the first time, and you act how you always act. You want to be real around everyone. And I'm not saying don't, but take a look at this example. You don't mean to offend them, but you accidentally do. This was your first impression, and now things are awkward. So be careful. Whenever you're meeting someone for the first time, listen more than talk, but also through your communication, you actually show respect. So when you take a look at it, once again, communication demonstrates respect. If you're listening to someone, if you're talking over them, if you're wanting, if you show that you want to get to know them, this shows a lot of respect. Communication happens in two ways. It's not just about what you say, it's about listening as well. We learned about that. And then once again, how would you resolve this conflict? So I really believe in life, it's not about making mistakes or not, but it's about when you do make a mistake, because all of us do, it's about learning from it and growing from it. It's how we handle mistakes that define us, not making mistakes, because we all make mistakes. And unfortunately, even me, I've accidentally disrespected someone. I've accidentally offended people. But when I realize it, I just go back and I say, hey, can I just take a moment to apologize? I truly mean this. I'm so sorry for the way I acted, for what I said, etc. So I think someone would be really receptive to that. All right. So keep that in mind as you go on. As we finish off this amazing course on communication, I really hope you've learned something. But how would you explain your family culture? Think about that. Reflect. Number two, what are some examples within your culture that may be different than other people's culture? Okay. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just that's your culture. And number three, what are ways that you can improve your cultural competency? All right. So I really hope that through this lesson, this series, that you've learned a lot. I want to thank all of you who have watched all of this from beginning to end and continue to work on your communication, because I'm telling you, you'll be way more successful than a lot of people your age if you learn these habits and these skills early. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate you. Bye-bye.